Hi guys, welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. Today we are going to go beyond analog music reproduction, beyond hi-fi, but we are going to focus on analog, the analog experience. Different aspects in our lives that can really make us appreciate certain things and just enhance our overall experience and enjoyment and sharing of certain passions, certain emotions, certain elements that sometimes we give them for granted or are just inside the digital domain and we think they're blocked in there and we cannot reach out anymore and interact in a more physical way as we used to do. Are you ready? This is a very strange episode. Let's go now. So, since this is a full analog video dedicated to the full analog experience, unfortunately, where you're looking at this on YouTube or other digital media, digital hardware, so it's not a VHS. But apart from that, it is going to focus on this part of our interaction with things, okay? And not only things, actually. So, for the first time, I want to bring in the picture my original vintage Neumann U87 right out from the 50s. I've been using this now for many years now, and this is also part of what we are going to explore today. Analog experience, using analog gear, analog of different things, not only audio. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. But this is also something so interesting. Now, it's true that this is a condenser type of microphone, meaning that there are condensers inside. But if you think about dynamic microphones, it's just the same principle of a cartridge. It's just vibrations that are transformed in electrical signals and then amplified. Very, very fascinating because the whole process practically doesn't need almost electricity. Yeah, I mean, the mic preamp needs it, but that's just a subsequent phase. The generation is completely just mechanical, electromechanical, we could say. But it's not an episode on microphones. No. I do want to try to explore a few elements that I have noticed we all have in common. Not all, but a lot of us have in common. So we love hi-fi, we love hi-fi gear, we love analog gear, turntables, amplifiers, loudspeakers, tubes, everything that has that special physical connection, and not only clearly the hardware, but also the software. So cassettes, reel-to-reels, the vinyl itself. As we all know, this is something that really grabs us and pulls us in this experience. But it's not only that. Because, for example, I've noticed that another huge segment that a lot of people are usually interested in are mechanical watches. Now, at a certain point, it depends if you are exposed to this by some colleague, some friend, somebody in your family, you usually get hooked. Otherwise, it's difficult. You're just going to look at your watch as something for your time, or maybe you don't even have a watch. You have a smartwatch, which is not absolutely the same thing, or even worse, you're just using your phone, which is perfectly okay. But clearly, as we all know, I think you know, there's a whole world there of mechanical watches. And if you go from something like this, let's see if you can see it, this fantastic model, now this is practically a joke, to something like this, it is not just, this is a fantastic, beautiful model, the model number 2 by Lorca Watches, New York. And this is an incredible piece of art, because it is art. I mean, There is no battery here. That's the main difference from quartz watches and mechanical watches, that they are completely mechanical. They can be hand wound, meaning that you have to every morning crank it up to make it work. But that's part of the ritual, just like putting a vinyl record on the platter. Or it's an automatic movement. And at that point, you just have to go around, use it, and it will charge by itself. Even more fascinating, I think. And when they are well built with good quality movements, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, the movement is the part inside all the different mechanisms, usually the Swiss ones or the Japanese ones, but there's also German and French incredible movements. The precision is very, very high, okay? And you're going to find yourself adjusting the hour like once every several months. And I find that so fascinating. And that's why so many people do like analog media, analog interaction with the music, the hi-fi, but also mechanical watches, something like this, which also have this vintage taste, which I think wins you over even more. So that's also a part of this analog experience that I was talking about. I know this is a little bit in the middle. Sorry if you're not seeing my face perfectly, but it's part of today's video, okay? Okay, what else? Well, very banally, maybe, but I did want to insert even this because we're passing more and more time now on screens, reading things on screens that are not even segmented in pages anymore. It's just screens with stuff on it. And sometimes it's not even assembled how it's supposed to appear, we could say. In any case, reading is in a lot of times, especially if we're talking about Kindles, on an electronic device, which is very useful. I perfectly understand that it's light, it's easy to bring around. The convenience is huge. Like most digital things, the convenience is around the corner. But after some time, especially if you don't have that much experience of the analog versions, it's tiring. It's disappointing. You just urge at a certain point, not everyone, but a lot of people urge to go back to that tactile experience, okay? So, as I said, nothing special here. Books. Books. Good old books. Even trying to find something. Now, these are all in Italian because, as you know, I am Italian, mainly. So, even hunting for a used book in the market. That's something unique. Even reading special things. Great fan of Lovecraft. In general, we could say sci-fi. I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. I would highly recommend, for example, this book is one of my favorites, The Purple Cloud in English by Scheel. Amazing, incredible stuff. So even the joy of touching paper, smelling it, hunting it for, just like old used records. It's something I think magical that you just can't experience with a portable digital device, unfortunately. So I did want to highlight also this part. But there's another huge element that I've noticed just immediately from the first stages of my channel. People who were inside hi-fi, in fact, there are channels dedicated to both topics, hi-fi and the one I'm about to talk about, and also photography. Yes. And this is going to be a surprise for a lot of people. I'm a huge photographic buff, especially in the past when, in fact, analog was at its peak, like in the 90s. Early 2000s, that was the end, the dawn, we could say. Not the dawn, the dusk of the process, unfortunately. Then digital was huge. digital images are so crisp and nice, especially the ones that we have now. Not the beginning ones, that's for sure. But I'm sure that you have seen even analog scans and then put online, okay? So you're watching at a digital image, but you just sense, look, feel that the grain, the colors, the paste, done through film photography, chemical photography, it just is a different thing. And it doesn't stop only there. I mean, if you are going, for example, beyond your simple phone and you start using something like this, like my F2 by Nikon, which is at the pair, we could say, or almost there as a Leica. I mean, it's fully mechanical. Just an incredible jewel of engineering. And you're holding a piece of history of the 70s. Most pictures were done with this. Journalism, but also still life, I don't know, fashion. I mean, this, obviously the Leicas and many other, but this is one of the core because it also had a great price, and you can still find now there's a huge resurgence, okay? There's a huge resurgence of this. The mechanical watches also, especially after the crisis of the quartz, then we went back up, fortunately. But photography, I see dozens of young people. That's why it works, just for like the vinyl resurgence. Young people that are discovering this and then are trying out film. Also because, and this is going to be a surprise for a lot of people who are not experiencing something like this, film is back into production. It costs a lot, and it's difficult to get it developed. You have to find specific labs who do it. It's going to be more expensive than what you remember from the 90s, for example, or 80s, or whenever you were using it. But you can do it like me. I developed my own black and white film, also color, but mainly black and white. Black and white film is just something at another level. Just like analog media, there is a connection. There is just this engagement, this type of quality. Imperfection is there, absolutely. It's not perfect in no way, but it has that character. It has that taste that is just very, very attractive, convincing, and it makes you want to explore more and more. So something like this is already the hardware, I think, extremely convincing and attractive. I also wanted to add this, like, I remember that when I was in photography, I used to develop my rolls of film. I also did my prints, my enlargements, because I had access to a darkroom. Fantastic. Just the emotion of creating that, developing and doing the enlargements. And you can absolutely control the picture, the tones, the contrast, the detail, the dimensions. I mean, it's so fascinating. But I never, for example, I could never have access to medium format. It was just too expensive. I could not afford that. But now there's so many vintage models like this incredible Pentax model that I was able to get for a very low price. And it makes incredible images that not even high quality cameras like the ones I'm filming this video on, the Sony, I mean, they're excellent, but there's something about these lenses. Clearly, that's the most important part, the lenses, but also the cameras, and clearly the film, all together that create that special and high quality image that very difficultly you are going to find in a digital format. But apart from that, it's not always who's best. It's different. It's very different, and that's where you understand that it's good to have both. But I would like to invite you to experience in holding something like the Pentax here, which the 6.7, which is just something incredible, and the amazing results. I'll try to put some images I did here now, are just something astonishing, that I was not expecting, because I was also used to 35 millimeter photography. This is a 6 by 7 centimeter, wow, huge film, huge quality image, a lot, very high resolution. And clearly the optics, the lenses are very, very good. So these are just some very good examples of what I mean, the analog experience. And I want to highlight this process because it's very important. We really have to thank young people because that's normal, actually. It's a normal process. In fact, it is perfectly framed, the fact that at a certain point, when new things are developed, for example, people that assisted to that development are never convinced about that. They are stick to the things they know better. And only people in the future, in the new generation, will fully understand, for example, new achievements and bring it even at a high level. The same happens also with vintage stuff. At a certain point, young people look back, whatever there was, and they like to explore it because it's part of their history. And they understand there's a physical connection in this case. They understand that the result, the sonic, if we're talking about music, the optic, if we're talking about photography, but also, as we said, the smell, the look of things is just more rewarding. And then at that point, since a lot of these things are not that expensive, because when we're young, we don't have that much of money, you can even understand better and try to buy some things, approach, experience. Also, YouTube helps a lot because there's so much information. You can just grab something and learn how to use it thanks to this fantastic platform. We have to admit, YouTube is part also of that great contribution to the resurgence of vinyl, of analog media. As I said, you can just go online and there's dozens of places that can scan your film, that are selling film, that are selling all the instruments to do your own development. You can find these incredible cameras for a fraction of what they cost, and nothing compared to the digital modern ones that are extremely expensive, like my Sony here, the 7, I don't remember even, it's the Alpha 7B, I don't even remember. See, I just use it to do these 4K high resolution videos, absolutely, but those are my go-to cameras when I do something special and more emotional and close to me. Let's try to see a little bit better some characteristics of this analog philosophy, almost an analog manifesto if you want. So as we said, I have some notes here that I wrote down. Clearly one of the main things, the main contrast with digital environment, digital aspects, elements, is the tactile experience. We've said this so many times. We don't have to linger on this too much, but it does. We do have to recognize that the physical, tactile, and all the senses have a direct interaction and not a virtual interaction, greatly contribute to the success and the return of these elements, of these media. So there is also a true presence. I mean, there is an element in front of me that I can touch, that I can interact. Yes, someone could say the computer as well, but you know what I mean. Come on. It's not the same thing. I mean, charging something here, hearing the clicks, also the clicks of a machine like that, of the shutter, is just something so rewarding and once again engaging that nothing else can compare to it. In fact, there is a reason why they add the sonic click to phones or things like that. Why? Because people are too used to that. They want it. And actually, it's a downside. If you think about it, you don't want a hearable click, because sometimes you want to do street photography, you don't want to be noticed, you want to make noise. But there's always that little click because it tells you also when the photograph is done, the process is done. I mean, there's lots of reasons why we continue to go towards those elements. Also part of this, I would say, is the function. How things, all these objects function, the mechanics inside. This is something very, I think, male-inclined things. I mean, that's why so few, unfortunately, female, or let's say just in general, or women are less attracted to mechanical things, complex things, the hi-fi, all the different aspects of picture. Clearly, there are lots of examples that go in contrast with this, but we could say there are general trends, okay? It's more of a guy thing, all these things. But not only, I mean, especially like photography, there are a lot of incredible blogs, a lot of great channels made by girls, women, or whatever, dedicated to that, for example. But if you're going in the side of watches, very few, like just like a hi-fi. Another important aspect of this analog philosophy, I think, is that a lot of these elements, going from a record, a book, a watch, a picture, even a lens, a used lens or something, are connected to memories, okay? Yes, a lot of times we're buying these things online, but a lot of times no, we're finding them around, or a friend gave us to it, or we were introduced by, somebody lent it to us, or we found it at a little flea market or something like that. And also the memory itself of that record, of that cassette made by someone, for example. Yeah, these are things that happened mostly in the past, but they are happening again today. New memories are forged, and I think that that is also something very, very important and is greatly contributing to the success of this type of media. So there's also, I think, a different dimension. There is a human dimension, a human connection. Analog media elements are ergonomic, okay? They function well with us. They are designed by us, for us. And it's something more natural almost to interact, to use, to preserve than digital media. It doesn't want to be this video as one versus the other, but clearly I do have to do some comparisons. But this is a video to celebrate and, I don't know, try to bring in some elements besides audio that I think are so interesting and fun to do. And I hope that maybe I'm going to try to spark your interest in something of these that maybe you ignored up until now. Okay, guys. I think you've got the picture. This was a different type of video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want, write here in the comments if you would like me to explore a little more on microphones. I did some tentatives, but it didn't go very well. Or on, for example, watches, or for example, on photography. I mean, they're all my passions. Hi-fi is huge, okay? I must admit, that's the top of the top, and that's why I did this channel. Nevertheless, I do enjoy and go crazy for this other stuff I showed you. So please share your cameras, watch brands, micro brands. I love micro brands, Japanese or Swedish or some. That's also the fun part of watches. It's not just Omega or Rolex or Longines. There are a lot of little micro brands that are coming all over the place doing incredible things. Or even books, authors, sci-fi authors. That's what I'm interested in mainly. Okay, I think you got the picture. Thank you again for watching, and remember that music, and not only, was born analog. Bye! Hey there, if you are enjoying my content, please consider to subscribe. It's free, and it will help the channel tremendously. Also, don't forget to explore my prior videos. There's something for everyone. Welcome to the audiophile community.